So the fight continues to resolve the COVID-19 crisis. And even as those efforts continue, a group of world leaders are coming together to try to stop any future pandemic. More than 20 of them are calling for an international pandemic treaty. But there's one notable absentee on the list. Tessa Arcilia is in London with more on the story. Tessa.
Yes, Heather, this call for an international treaty on global pandemics, stopping it from happening again in the future. This came out simultaneously in different papers here in the UK. It came out in The Telegraph. You had it in Le Monde in France, El País in Spain, and other newspapers. So several world leaders, including Boris Johnson here in the UK, Emmanuel Macron in France, Angela Merkel in Germany, they're basically calling for everyone to sign on to this treaty to make sure that the world will be prepared moving forward from this pandemic. Now, the message is simple here. They're calling for solidarity. This was signed alongside the WHO and the European Union. The main message is the de facto slogan, basically, Heather, of this pandemic. No one is safe until everyone is safe. How often have we heard this during this pandemic? They use strong words to describe this time. In that letter published in the newspapers, they described this pandemic as the biggest global challenge since the Second World War. And another part of this letter, let's pull that up, adding that there will be pandemics and other major health emergencies. The question is not if, but when they will happen. And the only way through really is to work together to have this coordinated response. And as they did during the post-war time. Let's take a listen to the chief of the World Health Organization.
The time to act is now. The world cannot afford to wait until the pandemic is over to start planning for the next one. We must not allow the memories of this crisis to fade and go back to business as usual.
I think, Heather, there is a real recognition that there needs to be a framework where everyone will have to follow certain rules, because we've seen the kind of vaccine nationalism that's happening, or fighting over vaccine supplies. You and I have discussed on your program the equal access to these vaccines. This is a real problem that has surfaced during this time. So the plan, the WHO chief said, is to push this forward in the annual meeting in May.
Listening, Tessa, to your describing the countries that are behind this idea of a pandemic treaty, notable absences from where I sit this morning.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, apart from seeing who was on it, I think what's important to see also is who aren't on it, because, for example, China, what's being seen as the source of this virus. In fact, the WHO will release their findings on the source of that virus in a couple of hours. China is not on it. The US is not on it. The WHO chief said that both countries have made positive comments on this call for an international treaty. And another notable absence, Heather, Canada, exactly, where you're sitting. We have a team who's reached out to the government asking why that is exactly. Heather?
Tessa, thank you so much. Tessa Arcilia is in London.